The game of cricket is one of the biggest unifiers of our great nation. For decades, it's brought us both agony and ecstasy, sometimes in equal measure. Hello, one and all, I'm Eesha Ji, and there has never been a better time for our sport as far as equality is concerned. For years, it was men who bore the weight of our expectations. But now, that's very much a thing of the past. Our women cricketers have taken flight, and we at Sony Sports Network are here to be the wind beneath their wings. Welcome to Cricket's Wonder Women. Today, we look at one of the brightest stars in the cricketing galaxy, someone with humble, small-town beginnings. Now adored by millions of fans, she followed her father and brother into the cricket pitch as a 9-year-old and never, ever looked back. She's quite simply one of the best batters in the world, Smriti Mandhana. And in this episode, we're going to celebrate some of her finest innings. Let's begin with the Tri-Nation Series in 2020 when Australia hosted India and England. India had lost their first encounter against the hosts and were gearing up for game number 2 when Smriti Mandhana took center stage. Her innings of 55 formed the backbone of a 173-run chase. She also helped India register their highest successful run chase in women's T20Is. Moving right along, let's watch another Smriti Mandhana masterclass, this time against England in the 2022 series. The opening game was won by the hosts, and Mandhana yet again gave another inspired fight back in the second T20I. 13 boundaries and an unbeaten 79 runs to her name off just 53 balls. Now that's what we call a fiery T20I innings. Mandhana's talent in the shortest format of the game is truly impressive, but she's not just a one-format player. Her impact is felt in tests and ODIs as well. More on that right after this short break. Welcome back, everyone, to Cricket's Wonder Women, where we are reliving some of Smriti Mandhana's best knocks. We saw her class and ability in the T20Is. Now we move on to the 50-over format, which she absolutely dominates. And speaking of domination, we head to the series between England and India, a series which saw Mandhana unleash her prowess right from match 1. Have a look. Winning the player of the match for her knock of 91, Mandhana laid down the foundation for an Indian victory. India went on to win the second ODI and the series, courtesy of a Harmanpreet Kaur century. But the lure of a clean sweep was too much for Mandhana. Check out her innings in the third and final ODI. A half-century in the final ODI and a clean sweep completed, Smriti Mandhana ended the series with 181 runs to her name. India also notched up a couple of firsts. Their first series win in England since 1999, the first whitewash against England in England. But that's not the end of the story. Coming up after the break are Mandhana's exploits in the toughest format of the game against some of the toughest opponents in the world. Hello and welcome back to Cricket's Wonder Women. We now take a look at cricket's most testing format and how our very own Smriti Mandhana fared in it. Back in 2021, India took on England in a one-off test match at Bristol. England piled up 396 in their first innings, and the pressure was well and truly on the Indian openers. Smriti Mandhana did not disappoint. Scoring 78 and putting up a 167-run opening stand with Shefali Verma, Mandhana gave India a good start. However, the England bowling pegged them back, and the match eventually ended in a draw. But Mandhana's flair and stroke making made an impression on every spectator, and it would hold her in good stead just a few months later when India traveled to Australia, taking on the world's best team on their home turf in a one-off test. This wasn't any ordinary test though. This was India's first ever pink ball test, and it posed an additional challenge for the visitors. But Mandhana absorbed the grandeur of the occasion and dished out a performance that had us going, wow. What a knock! Hats off to Smriti Mandhana. She brought up her maiden test century in India's maiden pink ball test match. She was very aptly awarded the Player of the Match and ensured India extended their unbeaten streak in the test format to 6 matches. Mandhana is not just an extraordinary cricketer. She's an inspiration to every young aspirant of the game. Her style and her charisma on field make her a delight to watch. She surely is the pride of the nation. We come to the end now of this episode on cricket's Wonder Woman, but we have a lot more in store for you, so we'll be back soon with some more enthralling performances. Until next time, this is me, Eesha G, signing off. Cricket, a sport that has had audiences glued to their seats with excitement for over a century. A sport of class, a sport of finesse. But recently, the game has seen the infusion of power and aggression by the young guns. Today, we're going to look at a young Indian girl who has taken the cricket world by storm. Her attacking style of play has shades of the great Virender Sehwag, and she can give bowlers sleepless nights on her day. Hello, one and all, I'm Eesha G, and welcome to Cricket's Wonder Woman. Born on 28 January 2004 in Rohtak, Haryana, Shefali Verma fell in love with cricket as a young girl, and absolutely nothing could stop her from pursuing the game. In fact, Shefali had to disguise herself as a boy during her childhood just to train there, as there was no academy for girls in her hometown. No obstacle could stop young Shefali, and she found her moment of fame in a women's exhibition match that was played towards the end of IPL 2019. Her fearless stroke play and acumen for the game at the tender age of 15 impressed everyone. And in the same year, on 24th September, 15-year-old Shefali Verma made her India debut in the home T20I series against South Africa, and she became the youngest ever player to play T20Is for India. Well, let's get cracking and dive into some of Shefali's finest innings. To begin with, we visit the land down under, where Australia hosted India and England in a tri-nation T20I series. The opening game saw India chasing 148 runs against England and outwalked Shefali Verma. Shefali's cameo gave India the boost they needed to seal the win in the opening game. In the very same series, India found themselves taking on the hosts in the fifth game, facing a steep run chase of 174. The pressure was on the Indian openers as young Shefali walked out with Smriti Mandhana to take on the Aussie bowling. What a sensational chase that was, set up brilliantly by India's openers Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandhana. The duo put up an 85-run opening stand, with Shefali smashing 8 fours and 1 6 on her way to 49. Her innings also helped India record their highest ever chase in T20Is. Well, Shefali sure knows how to keep the game going, and we're about to capture her exploits across formats. All that and more after this short break. Welcome back to Cricket's Wonder Women, where we are reliving some of the best innings played by young, swashbuckling Indian opener Shefali Verma. A switch up in formats, and we move on to June 2021. Shefali Verma's T20I heroics had earned her a Test debut, and she flew over to England for the one-off Test played in Bristol. England posted an imposing first innings total of 396. Outwalked Shefali, ready to brave the storm. What followed was nothing less than astonishing. 96. Oh, so agonizingly close from a century in her first ever Test innings. But hey, take nothing away from the sheer class displayed by such a young player in that innings. Guided by the experience of Smriti Mandhana, India put up a strong opening stand of 167 runs. But unfortunately, the England bowlers got the upper hand and closed out the Indian innings. Facing a follow-on, out came Shefali Verma, carrying with her the confidence from her first innings knock. And well, she carried on, scoring the runs as well. Back-to-back half-centuries for debutante Shefali, and she made sure India got the strong start to salvage a draw in the Test. A display of confidence, composure, and maturity in that innings saw her win the Player of the Match award. Shefali showed the world that, be it white ball or red ball cricket, she was a force to be reckoned with. After drawing the one-off Test, the Indian tour continued with some limited over action, and our hard-hitting opener made sure she continued her fine form. More of Shefali Verma from the 2021 England tour on the other side of the break. Hello and welcome back to Cricket's Wonder Women. The one-off test of the England series in 2021 ended in a draw, but it was enough to give us a snapshot of the prodigious talent that Shefali Verma brought to the table. She carried her form into the ODI series that followed, and we saw another strong start from her in the second game. India batting first needed a strong start, and Shefali made sure she delivered for her country. Taking the English bowlers on, Shefali scored a brisk 44, hitting 7 boundaries in her innings. However, unfortunately, India fell short and England took an unassailable 2-0 lead in the series. India did manage to end on a high note though, winning the final ODI and took some of that winning spirit into the T20I series that followed. A rain-curtailed opening match saw the hosts take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. India needed some inspiration to bounce back in the second T20I. Fortunately, their young, aggressive opener delivered that in spades. What a knock! A match-winning performance by the young opener. Her aggressive opening set India up with a respectable total, and the bowlers did the rest, giving India a series-leveling win. The hosts came back strong to win the trophy in the third game, but it was a memorable series for Shefali Verma. Her exploits continued a few months later in Australia, and we come back with that right after this short break. Hello everyone, I'm Eesha Ji and welcome back to Cricket's Wonder Women. We've been seeing the best of Shefali Verma and now we head to the land down under. India's tour of Australia began with a 3-match ODI series and the mighty hosts went on to claim a 2-0 lead. Walking into the third and final ODI, it was pride on the line and Shefali made sure that the Indians ended the series with their heads held high. After a successful chase of 265 in the final ODI, India looked to carry the winning momentum into the one-off test match that followed. This was the 10th test to be played between the two sides, the first match being held way back in 1977. India had never been able to claim a win over Australia in this format. Smriti Mandhana century and some disciplined bowling gave India a formidable first innings lead of 136 runs. From there on, it was the Shefali Verma show. Isn't it an absolute joy to watch Shefali bat? This was her third test half-century in 4 innings. The match ended in a draw, but the Aussie bowlers were certainly put under pressure by the Indian batters. At just under 20 years of age, Shefali is already giving the bowlers a reason to sweat. Her aggression and confident swagger has seen her notch up over 2,000 runs in international cricket, and she still has a long, long way ahead of her. We've now come to the end of this episode on Cricket's Wonder Women, but to conclude, I can safely say this: the future of Indian women's cricket is in safe hands. Until next time, this is me, Eesha Ji, signing off.